láyé olúgbọ́n mo ké borùn méje ẹ ò máa kọ yí lórin láyé àrẹ̀sà mo ké borùn mẹ́fà ẹ ò máa kọ yí lórin láyé ìsẹ̀yìn èmi ra kókò mo ra rán mo ra sányán bàbá sọ àfọ̀lẹ́ ló lè pélé.
Hello everyone, my name is Adiemo Adegbemiga Ganiu and I welcome you all to my new Yoruba Abrahamic YouTube video. Today I want to touch about the Africanism of the Qur'anic Muhammad and his Ijebu or Jebel or Jebu Bakkah or ancestry from today Ijebu people from ancient North Sudan straight down to West Africa of today southwest of Nigeria. This is not an attempt to distort any history or to attack any religion. It's an open narration, an open findings, and every piece of evidences I am dropping are verifiable. So don't blame me for saying the truth. Blame yourself for not acknowledging the truth. It has always been a portrayal of a sin for so long for any Muslim in modern time to actually ask within the Islamic institution in new era about the true race or genealogy of the Qur'anic Muhammad, and that is even by design, which has a political embedment in it. And for this reason, the prohibition of asking about the Muhammad race in modern day Islam was basically a directed course upon the African people and not the non-Africans, because the non-African are so much used to portraying our black African heroes as white people that looks like them. Say they have nothing to lose. But in the case of the African, they have everything to lose if they continue to dance to the tune of not asking about the genealogy or race of their Muhammad, because it costs nothing. Like if you can see today, at least we know of the man known as Ahmed Baba, a great scholar from Timbuktu of Mali. This man is said to have about 200,000 worth of knowledge on his brain, and he can write it down. He's a renowned scholar which we know as a black African man. But most time, if you Google his picture today, you will see a pale Arab man who is not even related to West Africa. And this has always been the way they continue to whiteify every African hero. If you don't know about that, at least you know about Yeshua, how Yeshua described himself in Revelation 1 verse 14. But today, you see the white picture. It is of recent that African people are beginning to ask questions, and that is exactly in the case of this same Prophet Muhammad, which I'm about to talk about more. Like I said in my Muhammad Negro video, all the entire modern day Islamic doctrines, constitution, principle and practices are completely un-Quranic, and there are reasons for that. They are invaders' long traditions of ancient Babylon, which they now continue to uphold in the face of a new Islamic projection after their complete conquest across North Africa in 635 AD as Spelled Arab. The entire Islamic structure are now being designed by the same Persians of ancient Babylon, such as the Iranian, and not even Saudi. Because I must say, like I continue to say, Saudi Arabia existence in where they are today is not less than 400 years. It's not less than 400 years. Archaeologists have said it that their history only does not predate 7th century. In just recent year, before people even started to even think about them or even know that there is a colony in Arabian terrain known as Saudi Arabia. This is why today they have no archaeological evidences to support their ancientism. You can't come to Africa, you must always see a fossil. You must always see something, but they have nothing, and they claim to have been existing since the beginning of time. So it doesn't align with common sense. So I don't want to digress too much. And we also know that every pilgrimage that people does in Hajj, everything across Arabian are practically stolen concepts. They stole all those concepts from the initial location of Jebu Bakkah. Everything you say in today's Saudi Arabia, going and community, they stole the concept from Jebu Bakkah, where the original Muhammad basically lived, and they now coin it around their tradition. But the whole concept was taken from ancient Jebu Bakkah, which actually referenced, which ideally reflected how the Quran basically described the ancient Sudan, the ancient Bakkah where Muhammad lived. Muhammad never lived in a desert area. He lived in a rainforest terrestrial region, and Quran also proved that. So for all this, we need to ask again. Maybe I'm the one going out of line. We need to ask: was Muhammad really a Persian? Were Muhammad ancestor even a Persian? Because as of today, Persian controls. When I say Persian is no more a nation. They are splitted ethnic groups who now dominated Arabian terrain today, like Gulf nation, all these things. All their ancestry can be linked or traced back to Persian land. This is where we have Talmud of Persian. We have Jewish Talmud of the new one. What we know of Talmud is a thing of Babylon, be under the terrain or under the ancient control of Persian. So this is why I generalizes them that they are Persian by default. So should we ask if Muhammad is a Persian, or was Muhammad even an African Negro, hero? And the reason why I need to ask is because we know for a fact, we know the Bible said it, everything said it. Torah came before Quran. That is for a fact, thousands of years. And the Quran is just a replica and a re-echo of what the Bible said or teaches earlier, and is only because Muhammad was actually related to the people of the Messiah. This is why he re-echoed their messages to different Yoruba people outside where the Torah Yoruba dwell. They are Yoruba in different scattered colony. I hope you get it. So we know for sure David, the Torah described David as a black man for sure, and we know Judah's kingdom is at West Africa, and that Judah's kingdom is under the rulership, the empire of Oba Oduduwa in West Africa. And we also know about Yeshua. Yeshua was described as a Negro. He was described as a pure black man, woolly hair, furnace braids in Revelation 1-14. And we know his brother Simeon in first act was also described too as a Negro. Olùkọ́ láti ilẹ̀ àwọn ọmọ ológo. Yorubas are ọmọ ológo, teachers from the land of the Negro or nigger. So likewise Solomon, everybody, they were all black people. So if Muhammad is from the lineage of no, why are we now having Muhammad of a pale Caucasian looking figure? Why are we now looking at today's Caucasian or the pale Arab looking Muhammad? Just exactly how they whiteified Jesus to different kind of Caucasian looking figure. Only for us to even know Jesus, the white Jesus was even a gay. More insult to an injury. So this is why we need to go deeper more. I've said this in terms of Sira. For the Muslim or non-Muslim who basically don't know the hierarchy of the Islamic information, how they came, the first most relevant information about this whole Islam is Sira. The Sira is basically the biography of Muhammad. Why I said the Sira is more important than the Quran is because if you know this, if you understand the Sira, at least you will know the race of that Muhammad. You will know his culture. You will know his true people. You will know everything about him. So even though it's like if you know the Sira of Shango Lukoso, maybe you don't see, maybe we are unfortunate not to live in the time of Shango, but at least if we know the Sira of Shango, we don't need to drag any more further. We can easily go that okay, the Sira of Shango lies within Oyo, so by going to Oyo we are definitely going to know how Shango live. We will definitely be able to relate with the Shango view of life. We will see someone within Oyo that will tell us that we had it in history so time Shango used to do like this. This is why I said Sira is the most important in Islam before the Quran. But this Sira, which came earlier before all hadith, are now what we don't have anymore today. But the pieces we can still put up together that people were still, the Persian hadith teaching suppressed it completely because the Sira says something that is fascinating. In the Sira, the pieces of the Sira that people were able to collect together, the Sira is basically saying all the modern day Muhammadan of paid looking figures or who are claiming to be Muhammad descendants, they are completely not of Muhammad. They have no business. Muhammad doesn't know them. They have no racial linkage with Muhammad. And we know that is obviously true because Muhammad people are black people. But those we have today, they are pale looking figure of pale Arab or whatever. So the Sira also complements what I'm saying, that Muhammad have no business with those people who are parading themselves as Muhammadans across Arabian desert. Like it is said in Al-Sira, I've treated this in one of my videos, Al-Nabawiya of volume 1 of Ibn Kathir of page 51. It stated that we have found no one who truly knows the lineage connection between Adnan and Ishmael, let alone Abraham. And this was reported by Walbi Zubair from the view of Malik. From another session, it stated that between Adnan and Ishmael, there are about 30 unknown ancestors. And these unknown ancestors, if you must know, is like they don't have any link between them. Let's even go further. It stated, another reported by Umar bin al-Khattab, he said, we can only carry back the finding of Muhammad's genealogy only as far back as Adnan. Every single Sira reporters are claiming that the modern day people of modern day now, they have no link beyond Adnan. If you are not a Muslim or you're a Muslim who basically don't know what this implies, Adnan is the ancestor. Adnan is the ancestor or the very primary figure which all the modern day pure Arab continue to hide behind, continue to push or to hold as their link between them and Muhammad and Ishmael. But only for us now for the Sira that came before all their populated hadith that are corrupted human being now. The Sira is basically saying even that Adnan they are holding as their father that linked them to Muhammad. There is no link between Adnan to Muhammad. And which basically means everything the paid Arab are teaching from their very own writing hadith, which the modern Muslim now hold by 99.9% as the basic teachings in modern time. Everything they are portraying in appearance to Muhammad, in related to the culture of Muhammad, in how Muhammad says, Muhammad said this, Muhammad that, all of these things are made up fabrication. You can't give what you don't have. You don't know this Muhammad. You are not related to him. But he seems to have written everything about a man you don't know. And the book that came before you is saying the thing. I'm not the one saying it. So evidently, this just to justify why the Quranic message is completely contradicts every Persian hadith that people hold on to today. The teachings of the Quran completely contradict this teaching, and this is basically because these are coming from two different clans, two different races, different philosophy, different view of life. So this is for a fact. And we know the Quranic prophet, these are some of the things you guys don't even know. So here are things they probably don't tell you, that Muhammad died around 632 AD. Listen very carefully. Muhammad died around 632 AD, around June, according to their claim. And this Persian Arab, all these pale Arab or Babylon or whatever they call themselves from desert area, they invaded North Africa around 641 AD. So I would just like you to minus those dates. It's so as clear as day and night that immediately Muhammad died was when these Persian invaders successfully invaded North Africa, about a couple of maybe 8 years. So it's as good that they were practical. The death of Muhammad gave them the leverage for them to be able to penetrate North Africa. For the most of what they don't teach in history, let me tell you some of the things they don't teach in history that you'll be shocked. Many Muslims of today don't probably know that Muhammad was even poisoned. Muhammad didn't die a natural death. He was poisoned. Who poisoned him? Nobody seems to talk about it. Which basically implies that someone was trying to have him dead before they actually invaded. Muhammad nursed this pain till the last day he died. Come on, I'm not making this up, for God's sake. Most of all this book of hadith, they won't tell you all these things. They only say it in tradition. And after that, the direct daughter of Muhammad, who is Fatima, died just 4 to 5 months after his father. Who killed her? Nobody knows. Hassan or Ali, who's supposed to be the processor, was also pressured to also follow the caliphate, to also accept the invaders' view of new Islam from pure traditional way of life to the system which they brought. Hassan was also poisoned like Muhammad. Hussein was also killed, was also brutally unalive just 50 years after Muhammad passes as well. So every single family of Muhammad after the foreign invasion were completely cleared out. Who did it? I mean, that is for you to think. And you call it Magbaku teacher. So all of these things led to why the entire legacy of Muhammad, his black ancestry, completely were buried. Because after the death of Muhammad, the new caliphate rises up and they began to flag out everything that are not of Muhammad, that he imported logic that they coined around Muhammad's legacy. And for this conspiracy to actually sustain the light of the day, to live long, and just as how it has linked long to today, they had to roll out a Sharia law to suppress the African for rejuvenating such topic or case again. And it became a Sharia law in Al-Shifa of page 387, where it was reported by Ibn Sulaiman, where he stated that anyone who ever tried to come up with the idea of Muhammad being a black man, the person should be hung alive. That is what the Sharia law, and the Sharia became so effective. They are practically saying, you Africans, we have override the black Muhammad's legacy, but we must not hear you talking about him being black, and you must start getting used to him being seen as a white figure, like we, your invaders, just like the Europeans too, just like how they whitified Yeshua and they make Yeshua a savior of the world. So the Pale Arab was basically pressing this, and why they were telling the African never to mention Muhammad, they were also promoting the white Muhammad, so that the white Muhammad view will replace the original black ancestry of Muhammad. You can see in Bukhari too, when they said Muhammad looked like a white figure with a pale chalky red face or stuff like a man from very Persian. So it's a replacement of racism, it's a replacement of racial identity of this said figure. And for so many things, like in their hadith, unconsciously, because there is an hadith in Yoruba, you can lie out of your lies. Some of it will still unconsciously reference to the truth, and that is the case of when Muhammad, in their own traditional belief in hadith, they acknowledge that there were a time actually in the lifetime of Muhammad when he actually visited the land known as Ethiopia. Be hearing carefully. They said Muhammad's people were facing persecution in Bakkah. That was why he sent his companion, and likewise him. They went to the land of Ethiopia for safety, for safe haven, and they were all received by a Nagus king. But something people oftenly overlook, which I will open your eyes to today with sincere mind, is that traditional teachings of Muhammad, because this time they say Muhammad, it was around 16. Something people with the Arabian which Muhammad dwelt was Jebel Bakkah, Jebel or Gebel Bakkah, of that same Dongola region, and from that same Napata in Kush land, not the Saudi Arabia that just existed 400 years in recent time. They are talking about thousands of years Saudi Arabia. And we can also reference to that from the political view of it, from the letter that Muhammad Bello II, the Sultan of Sokoto, wrote to the Portuguese, where he clearly described the very place where these Yoruba people migrated from. He stated that these people were coming from Saudi Arabia, and he described the Saudi Arabia as a region between today's Abyssinian colony to Egypt. And he is basically referencing to Sudan, the North Sudan, where Ijebu Bakkah is. This is why we have Jebel Bakkah. Jebel and Gebel, they are the same thing. Ijebu ati Gebu ni ile alubarika. So the letter from the political view of it is identifying with the very Saudi Arabia that existed then. that the people there, they left that Saudi Arabia where they used to worship the god of Amun in Egypt, that they left the area, then reverted back in migration to West Africa to reintegrate with their fellow Ijebu Yorubas in southwest of Nigeria. And likes of them were the Takpa, the Jokun. They are all Mohammedan. They are all the Ijebu. They are all Mohammedan from lineage to lineage. So I don't want to digress too much. That is for that. Another thing we should also take note of is that very Ethiopian that they said Muhammad visited, which of the king of Nagus. The ancient Ethiopian history is not of the same present Ethiopian people. I continue to say it over and over. The modern day Ethiopian people, they just got renamed as Ethiopian in 1940 or so. So they are not the original Ethiopian. Their ancient identity is Aksum and Abyssinian. And we can see that from the more political view of reality from West Africa based on the Atlantic Ocean. Today's Atlantic Ocean that passed through the West African region, across where different Yoruba people migrated to when they left the Sudan region to integrate with their other families of Yoruba majority in West Africa. The whole ocean used to be known as Oceanus Ethiopicus as far back as 18th century, 17th century downward. So, which is the original place of Ethiopian location. The river or the ocean was named after the original inoccupant, the majority inoccupant of that region. And also based on the 18th century map upward, you can see in Matthew Carrick 1795, Edward Wright in 1683, they are also referencing that we have ancient Ethiopia in West Africa. Maybe that is too much. Let's go back to the very Abrahamic view of it, like I continue to use the Bible. The Bible speaks about the very Ethiopian, which he references, which Muhammad was basically related to, those which Muhammad was basically related to, not just by taking shelter. The Bible dubbed them as Oya Sheriola, the same West African Yoruba people that fled back in minority to integrate with their majority. They are the Oya Sheriola. The Bible says, "Are you not the Ethiopian to me? Also the same people as the Israelites, which some portion of you were who I saved from Egypt." So the Bible made it clear that the ancient Ethiopia were the people of the Oya Sheriola, and we know that this Oya Sheriola, they eventually came back to West Africa with their Rest family, because it's from that West Africa they experienced the transatlantic slave trade that made the cause of Deuteronomy came to pass. I keep saying it. So the very Ethiopian people which Muhammad visited were also the Yoruba people in West African land. I hope I'm making that. It's not an assumption, it's a common sense. You just have to be sincere and throw away religion loyalty, right, and held on to truth reality, because only truth will prevail whether you like it or not. If it doesn't prevail in my lifetime, it will come up in another. There is no way you can gag truth for long. So people have to start embracing truth, because it is that only truth that will make you see the mercy of heaven, not religion. Religion is not a criteria for being recognized as a good or bad person in the sight of heaven. Adayebani is something we created in our own way on earth. So Muhammad basically visited West Africa. This was why he said he was accepted by the Negus king. Negus is another name for Negro or Aniogo or Anago or Negritis or Negritos or Niga or Niger is all about Aniogo Omo, Awa Omo, Logo Omo. So Muhammad to have been received by a Negus king is as good as saying he was well received by an Ijebu or any Yoruba king from Negroland. This is why it is said in religious traditional or modern day Islam that Muhammad relishes kola nuts. Muhammad like obi ati orogbo. This is a traditional way of we the Yoruba people, and this kola and this nut are only indigenous to West Africa. So everything is just going back to West Africa directly or indirectly. You just have to be very sincere. So all those people They are claiming to be Mohammedan. Even the Sira is debunking them. I'm not the one saying it. And that is how I can tell as Muhammad was actually from Ijebu. And the only reason why he could have come from Ijebu, from living Sudan to West Africa, is because the Ijebu were of two colonies. Ijebu Isale, Ijebu Oke. These are two different. They are one people who dwell in different colonies. Even till today, we still have Ijebu Nisale at Ibadan here, Isale Ijebu. So the term Ijebu Nisale, Ijebu Loke, just like Oke Odo, Isale Odo, is like one Muhammad fled from one side of Ijebu when the place was unsettling and fled for safety to another side of Ijebu to take shelter. That is exactly what happened. It absolutely had nothing to do with modern day Abyssinian. As a matter of fact, Kush is even right behind Abyssinian. And it absolutely had nothing to do with modern day Middle Eastern. Middle Eastern doesn't even exist. Even the name Middle East is actually Northwest Africa and annexed to Egypt, and the place was a barren land. It doesn't fit in how Quran described the ancient Bakkah that Muhammad and Ishmael lived. It doesn't fit in everything. It doesn't have any archaeological references. It doesn't so many things are. So I'm saying it based on evidences I were able to gather. I'm not here to distort any history. It's an intellectual work. If you actually think otherwise, please make your comment known below. Bring your evidences. Let's share ideas together. We're in the age of learning. No one needs to insult anybody. And I'll see you in my next video. Help me press the like button. Help me share it. Thank you everyone, and bye for now.